comic book starring Darkwing Duck. What's the world coming to? Happy 2022, St Canardians. Welcome to the St Canard Files, a Darkwing Duck podcast. I'm your host, Mike Russo, and as you may or may not have learned recently, Will has stepped down as my co-host, which is sad. We will hopefully see him again sometime soon, but he's really busy. He's become an agent for a few actresses, voice actresses, and he's busy on the convention circuit now representing them. So we had to find a new co-host. And me and Will agreed that we couldn't think of anybody better to be my new co-host than Tiffany Silver Braun. Welcome back to the St. Canard Files, Tiff.
Hello.
I am very happy to have you here in the co-host chair. It's really cool.
Glad to be here.
How have you been?
Pretty good. Had a really nice Christmas.
I didn't, unfortunately, but can you how was your Christmas? What did you do?
We did a lot of fun Christmassy things. Like we got to go ice skating, which was super fun. We live on a main street in our town that we live in, so we had like a Christmas parade like right outside of our house.
Oh, nice.
And we went to this really fun festival called the Dickens Fair also.
Oh, cool.
And we went nuts on presents.
Did the kids get anything nice?
Yeah, they got they're really into Harry Potter and Star Wars right now, so they got a lot of Harry Potter and Star Wars stuff.
My daughter likes Star Wars. She hasn't seen all of them, but she saw the original trilogy, and we have not introduced her to Harry Potter yet because those movies get pretty dark pretty fast. And we don't know if she's quite ready for it, but we'll get there.
We were actually surprised that we were thinking the same thing, and they didn't even flinch at it. We were like, oh, okay.
Well, it sounds like you had a good holiday then.
Yeah.
Like I said, mine could have been better. To backtrack a bit, I had a really nasty sinus infection in November and missed Thanksgiving. I didn't get to go see family. So that was terrible. And I came out of that thinking, okay, that's just Thanksgiving. Christmas is bound to be so much better. It started off okay. Christmas Eve, I was healthy. We went to my wife's family, her parents. We had a nice little Christmas Eve. And then Christmas morning, I woke up with a stomach virus.
Oh, no.
Which I probably got from work because it was going around my building. So I ended up staying home Christmas Day. And then the day after Christmas is my brother-in-law's birthday. So everyone went back over to my in-laws' house, and I stayed home again. So that was my Christmas. Basically, usually it's 3 days of seeing family. I got to do 1 day of it. I need a whole holiday season do-over, and that's not how life works unless you own a time machine. So, my daughter got we got her a Barbie dream house. She was asking for one of those. The thing's almost 4 feet tall, so she had a really good Christmas. As long as she has a good Christmas, I'm happy. Honestly, it's important that she enjoys herself. Aww. But Darkwing Duck, that's what we're here to talk about. And we're here to talk about, finally, we've been promising this for a very long time, the Boom comics.
Yay!
Yay! I know you like these.
I love them.
Now, did you get into these when they were first coming out?
Pretty much. I heard about it, and I was super excited. I was like, whoa, that's awesome. And out of nowhere, it seemed like so much time had passed. I was not expecting there to be a
definitely, yeah. Well, between the end of the show and these comics, there wasn't really much outside of the DVDs, which weren't even finished. So if you go back over a decade, there wasn't much Darkwing Duck happening. So these came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we can go into detail about how these came about, but I don't think we need to, because I want to direct our listeners to 2 summers ago when Will put together that 2-hour virtual panel where he got to talk to Aaron Sparrow, who edited the Boom comics for a short while, and James Silvani, who drew almost all of them. They talk about their history with the comic and how it got started. Sparrow's story about how this got going is a very interesting one. He wanted to do this for a long time and had to really convince Boom to let him do it. So I suggest anybody who wants to hear more about this, when they finish this episode, go back 2 summers ago in YouTube and go find that virtual panel. And I think they're later, a little bit later on in it. You'll learn everything you want to know about who Sparrow and Silvani are and what they do, more than we could possibly explain. So, what were your impressions when you first read these, Tiffany?
Man, I read all the comics from when the show came out, and I was not really, I don't know. I of course liked them because it was Darkwing Duck, but I wasn't that into the ones like from the 90s. There was something about like it just felt like, I don't know, not like the show, not exactly like a lot of the writing, and some of the art is really good, and then some of the art is not that great at all.
Well, as Stan has helped us illustrate, a lot of these comics were not that great.
Yeah, exactly.
I think these were pumped out like just to get into Disney Adventures and the Marvel comics without much really sincerity, just to have product out.
Yeah. So I mean, initially I didn't have like that high of expectations. I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, of course I'm gonna buy it. And then I read it and I was like, wow, like this is like exactly like an episode of the show. Like
what
the way that the writing is, and like the art is so perfect and beautiful. I was blown away by it.
What really made me understand and look forward to this comic, what made me understand these were going to be great, was when Tad Stone started talking them up before they came out. Like I find when Tad Stones talks something up, he isn't the type to just support everything with his character on it. He supports quality, and he was talking these up. And when Tad Stone says something's going to be great, you listen.
Yeah, and I feel like, his whole, even like compared to the show, I feel like there's a lot of stuff in the comics that was like hit Tad Stone's original vision and idea for like the show that he didn't always even get to do.
Yeah, they tried very hard to make him happy and to do things he would have done. And as we're going to talk about down the line, things were rocky with this comic. We're not going to discuss it now. But we had Aaron Sparrow as the editor, James Silvani as the writer, the artist, of course, and Ian Brill was the writer. A lot of what we're talking about in the next few episodes was a story arc that Aaron Sparrow came up with. This isn't going to be true going forward because Aaron Sparrow didn't stay on as editor for too long at Boom. And a lot of it basically was all Ian Brill, and that did lead to some issues and things. There is drama involved with this comic and Darkwing Duck and everything, but we won't get into it now. But these are the three people who are responsible for this: Ian Brill, James Silvani, and especially Aaron Sparrow. So I think we should start talking about issue 1, which, like a lot of Boom stuff, had multiple covers. I was crazy. I bought A and B covers of every issue. And then I bought them all in a trade paperback too. Then I bought them all when Definitively Dangerous came out. So I have 4. Basically, I have these stories 4 times over, which is nuts. But when you're a Darkwing Duck, especially back then when there wasn't much stuff coming out, you want to, and a lot of these covers are really gorgeous. I mean,
definitely.
The A cover for this issue 1, was not drawn by James Silvani. It was drawn by a company called Magic Eye Studios. It looks like it's based on the Batman the Animated Series logo with the cape over his face.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And the B cover's got Darkwing
tied. Batman references.
Yeah, Especially like the Dark Knight stuff, because they were calling it the
Yep.
Duck Knight. This story arc is called The Duck Knight Returns, which obviously is the title they use for that Ducktales episode too. The Duck Knight
Yeah.
Returns.
It's a
The
little
B
confusing.
a little bit. The B cover was drawn by Silvani, and it was actually one of the first pieces of art most fans saw. He revised it before the actual issue came out. But this cover's got Darkwing tied up over a vat of something green and bubbling, with the Fearsome Five in the background in shadows looking at him, and all these guns trained at him. And
Yeah,
he's sitting.
I
He's
have
got
that.
this. Yeah, he's got the casual look on his face, and he's saying, "All right, who wants to surrender first?" And you see at the top of the cover, Negativ's about to cut the rope. Very Darkwing Duck, and that's one of those things when you see it, you know the people doing this get it, because
Yeah,
it's just perfect.
right away.
All right, so let's start talking about the story. Issue 1, The Duck Knight Returns. I will let you start discussing how our story starts.
All right. It starts off in a Starducks, which is like a Starbucks.
Of course.
And all of a sudden the power goes out and they're confused and they realize that it's all the Starducks in the city, which is every other building in St. Canard.
Well, in this one, there's one cut to like the town really fast. You see everyone freaking out.
Yeah.
Every building in this panel has a Starducks logo on it.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a joke on The Simpsons where Bart goes to the mall to get his ears pierced, and every store at the mall is either a Starbucks or is about to become a Starbucks.
Yeah.
And he goes into the ear piercing place, and the guy says, "You know, you better get your ear pierced soon. We're about to become a Starbucks." And Bart walks out with a coffee in his hand. He looks behind him, and the store is a Starbucks already. I mean, Starbucks is still this huge thing. It hasn't gone away. So the joke is still fresh.
Yeah.
So when you turn the page, you see this really beautiful splash panel here. The whole page, it's one piece of art.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And the Darkwing image here gets reused a lot. And he's fighting Megavolt, and he gets a lot of entrances in this comic. The entrance he has is, "I am the terror that flaps in the night. I am the awkward goodbye that lasts far too long. I am Darkwing Duck." And it's like the awkward goodbye.
So good.
We spent like 20 years saying goodbye to him, and now he's finally back.
Yeah,
It definitely works.
The most brilliant thing.
And we don't get it this early on, but there's a lot of references in this comic, mostly in the art. James Silvani kind of went nuts referencing other Disney stuff. Although here, Darkwing mentions Mouseton, which is the comic book home of Mickey Mouse.
Yep.
So already they're weaving the universes of all these Disney properties together, which doesn't really pay off too much in the comics, but it's cool that they're doing it.
You get a little bit. You get some Mickey Mouse cartoon characters in there.
A little bit. Not too much, but you do get it. More as we go on, though.
Anything.
Yeah. So we flash forward a year. And where is Drake Mallard, Tiff?
He is working at Quackworks.
What is Quackworks?
It's a big corporation that we haven't seen in the show or anything yet. It's like a mega conglomerate company that apparently everybody in St. Canard works at.
Everybody. Police officers, civilians, even the crooks. They all work here.
But nobody knows who they are.
No, and even though a year has gone by, nobody really remembers Darkwing Duck. And so Drake Mallard is working here. He's clearly not happy. This place looks like an awful place to work. Nobody has any spirit. Everyone looks miserable.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like it's, it's great because it's like if you grew up watching the show, it's like, you were playing, like how many people like have memories of just like playing and running around as a kid, like when the original Darkwing Duck came out, and now when this comic book comes out, they're working at like a crappy office building.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like pretty
We're
brilliant to have that in an arc.
we're close to the same age, so we were about the same age bracket when Darkwing Duck first came out, so we get it.
Yeah.
I've never worked in an office building, but still. I mean, we see Drake sees that the elevators are out of order, so he has to walk up 142 flights of stairs. So we see he's a bit out of shape from when he was Darkwing Duck.
Yeah. Even though it's only a year later.
And so he shows up at a meeting where they're talking about the Crimebots, which have basically taken over from the police. They do all the policing in St. Canard.
And they say that there's no need for costume superheroes.
Yeah, but Drake explains, why do we need this? Because all the cops work here, all the criminals work here, and he almost mentions Darkwing Duck before he gets a phone call. And who is this phone call from?
It's from Gosalyn's teacher, and she's apparently at a private school now.
Very expensive private school. That's why he took this job.
Yeah.
But Gosalyn hasn't lost any of her spirit. She's freaking out because she says her science teacher showed how to freeze something and break it, so she immediately thinks of the Liquidator. And she's still got that crime fighting spirit in her blood that right now Drake is trying to completely put his thumb under. He wants to suppress completely. They both don't seem happy. It definitely seems like a miserable existence. We've seen every time Drake quits being Darkwing, he has no purpose in life. Like he loses his motivation to do anything. And that's where he is now. And Gosalyn asks what he thinks Launchpad is doing. So obviously something happened with Launchpad.
Yeah.
But we don't find out right away. And then we discover who shares a cubicle with Drake.
Elmo Sputterspark.
Yes, Megavolt himself. So yes, they're not kidding. Even the supervillains work for this conglomeration. And Megavolt comes very close to figuring out who Drake Mallard was.
And Drake seems to know that it's Megavolt too.
Yeah, well, Drake would. Megavolt's brain is too fried to piece anything together, though. I do like how Megavolt gets closer and closer to figuring out who this was, but then turns around like, oh well, he must have been someone else.
Yeah.
I gotta say, throughout most of this comic, especially in this story arc, everybody's really in character.
Yeah, like the dialogue and everything. Like you could definitely read it and you 100% like hear like the voice actors like delivering the lines because it's just written so close to like the show.
Yep. So this is my favorite part of the comic, the next few pages, where Drake starts to daydream his old adventures as Darkwing Duck. And the scenarios just get wackier and wackier because the show was pretty insane. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah, so it's getting into that whole Silver Age DC Comics sort of thing that Tad Stones loves.
So in our first scenario, he's with Launchpad, and the Liquidator has made beings of pure ice. But the more pressing problem is somehow Darkwing's left arm has been turned into a snake. The snake looks like Ka from the Jungle Book.
Yeah, definitely.
So there we go with our visual references to other Disney stuff. It's going to be an ongoing thing. His next memory is him and Launchpad in the Thunderquack fighting the world's largest carrot, or the third largest carrot, because of course Darkwing Duck, nothing's ever the largest. But the problem is this carrot, which was created by Bushroot, has attracted the world's largest rabbit, which I can see it happening on Darkwing Duck, can't you?
Yeah, definitely.
What's the next thing Drake remembers?
He remembers being in the old Shush time machine, the golf cart.
You have to be a huge fan of the show to go back to that and not the Time Top.
Yeah, totally.
Like this, like everyone knows the time top, but to say no, no, we're gonna use the shush time machine means you know the show.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
So what has happened? They've screwed up time, haven't they?
Yeah, they screwed up time, and there's a world of all launch pads.
Like, yeah, people, dogs, rabbits, they all have launch pads head. The
I don't know
planet
what
of
he did to make that happen.
the planet of the launch pads. What did Launchpad do? I don't want to know. And that would have been a great episode.
Yeah.
And finally, the last daydream is the craziest one. So apparently, Quackerjack brought to life every GI Melvin in the city. That's not Darkwing's biggest problem. His biggest problem is that his left arm is now what?
Launch pad.
Could you imagine like a Darkwing episode with him and Launchpad like get fused together and still have to solve crime?
It's kind of crazy that there wasn't an episode like that.
No, and they did that like on other shows. Like they did something similar on Rescue Rangers. I know they did it on Quack Pack. You would have thought it would have been a perfect Darkwing Duck story, like the incredible two-headed Darkwing. The other head is Launchpad, stopping constantly for hippo burgers or stuff like that. That would have been a great episode.
Yeah.
So Darkwing's supervisor, Drake's supervisor, tells him to go home. And we get a neat little scene here waiting for the bus. What happens, Tiff?
Yeah, I love this whole part because it's like almost no dialogue, but it's just drawn so well that you like, I don't know, you can like hear it while it's happening. It's him waiting at the bus stop. Huh?
I was going to say, the one bit of dialogue there is here is funny. This guy standing next to Drake asked if he watched the news report about that old superhero.
Yeah.
And he's trying to remember the name. And the name he comes up with is Duckman.
Duckman.
Good old Duckman.
Which is funny if you're like thinking about trying to remember duck shows from the 90s.
Yeah, Duckman, the Jason Alexander show.
Yeah.
Did you watch that?
I did.
I want to revisit it one day, but I know it was a little edgy, so it's not something I just can put on, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I was like younger, and it was always like the show that I had to stay up late and watch
on USA or whatever channel that was. It was on.
Yeah.
I remember it being pretty good for a Class B Chupo show.
Yeah, I liked it for sure.
I mean, Alexander would do these long rants that I think were just so well written.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember very little about it. I'd have to go back and I just remember those two bears that were killed in every episode.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't pick it up for Adult Swim.
That Adult Swim was a few years in the future still. But what Drake does see out of the window of the bus are two guys who look a lot like him in Launchpad riding a motorcycle.
It's so good.
Like life is just conspiring to remind him of Darkwing Duck. He can't get away from it. But meanwhile, Megavolt is late getting out. And
he missed the bus.
He misses the bus, but what happens to Megavolt?
A van drives up and a bunch of vines come and grab him. And he has the best exclamation, which is Edison's sake.
Who do you think that was? Poison Ivy? There are no plant villains in Darkwing Duck, right? Oh wait, no, there is one. I think there's one. I'm not sure though. So Drake gets home. We see Honker is going to be in this comic. He does mention the Muddlefoots. It takes a while to see them though in this series, but they eventually do show up. So Goslin's talking about the Crimebots. You know, you should get one that has gas guns and a cool hat. So Goslin can't let Darkwing Duck go either. So Darkwing goes upstairs. Drake goes upstairs. I have a bad habit of calling him Darkwing, whatever, right? So Drake goes upstairs, opens his closet. We see the Darkwing costumes in there. And what is the next thing he does?
He calls Launchpad up, he calls Launchpad up, but he doesn't say anything.
He doesn't have it in him to talk to him.
Yeah.
But then there's one shot of Launchpad. He's buffing the Thunderquack.
Yeah.
These two are like a couple that broke up.
Good drawing too.
Yeah.
Garage.
So just as Drake hangs up the phone, something happens. Like the house starts to rumble. And he says something very telling. He says, "Not again."
Yep.
We will find out what happened in a couple of episodes, but for now, they don't explain it. But what is happening at the moment?
The Crimebots bust in and they're going to arrest Honker of all people for illegally downloading music. That's such a perfect thing that Honker would do.
Specifically from a recording artist named Hannah Alaska.
Alaska.
Which I don't think you'd make the reference now, but I think Hannah Montana was pretty big about a decade ago, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And that was more, people were illegally downloading music a lot more back then, weren't they?
Yeah.
Was Napster still a thing then?
Maybe it might have been LimeWire at that point.
Ah, okay. But anyway, Honker is taken away by the Crimebots, and when Drake tries to stop him, they electrocute him. So Goslin gets an idea. She runs upstairs, and what does she get?
She gets Darkwing's old costume out.
And when she says, "Or you could let Darkwing Duck take care of this," the words Darkwing Duck are written in the font of the main title.
Yeah, I love that.
Which is really cool. I love the way Darkwing Duck is. It's like the purple with the yellow outline is just so gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's just like Ducktales with the Indiana Jones colors on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so iconic. So iconic. So our final page wraps up what's going on with Megavolt for the time being. What did happen to Megsy?
He got kidnapped by Liquidator, Bushroot, and Quackerjack, and this page looks so much like Life the Negaverse and everything.
The drawings are beautiful.
Yeah.
I think Silvani eventually came up with his own style. If you look at his Darkwings now, they're a lot more stylized. Like he found his own way to draw the characters. Like his buttons got a lot bigger. It's a lot more stylized, which is good for him. He needs to find his own voice. But this early on, he's sticking very close to the character models.
Yeah.
But he's such a good artist that it looks just like the show.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Like this Quackerjack is brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And Bushroot looks great. All of them look great. Like Silvani was and still is. He's a really great artist.
Really good ending of the first issue.
Since we've wrapped up the issue, I'll ask quick, do you have any art from Silvani?
Yeah, I have one of Morgana, actually.
I do too.
Nice.
Well, I have a commission from him.
Yeah, that's what I got too.
I saw him in 2011 while the comic was still going. Had it ended by then? Maybe it had ended by then. I don't know. I don't even know though. But I saw him at New York Comic Con in 2011, and I commissioned a piece of art of Darkwing swinging on a rope, but also holding Morgana.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, and you know what I didn't do? I didn't have him sign it.
Whoa.
But right above that on my wall is a print of him of Darkwing through the years in the way Disney used to do it with like Mickey and Donald, starting off as like a black and white character. And that he signed.
Oh,
so
yeah. I love that.
It's a really nice print.
That's
so
cool.
I have a few things from James.
Yeah, so that time when I got him to do it's just Morgana, the one that I have, but it was at WonderCon that I saw him in LA and or Anaheim, I think. But anyway, it was supposed to be James Silvani and Aaron Sparrow, and I was like, oh cool, I have to go and like meet them. And then I was like on my way walking, and I was like, whoa, I see someone walk by, and it was just Tad Stones.
Nice.
And I was like, I guess he's just here hanging out. And he was hanging out with James Silvani and Aaron Sparrow, but like wasn't a guest of like the con.
Well, he likes those guys.
Yeah.
You know, it's, he puts a stamp of approval right there. He hangs out with them. And I also have a his signature on one of the trades with a little picture of Darkwing on it. And he wrote "Stay Dangerous." So I it's nice to have some, especially a commission. It isn't even a print. I love what he drew for me. So yeah, that was issue 1. We're gonna rate each issue. Of course, our ratings out of 5 gas canisters. So Tiffany, how many gas canisters would you give issue 1?
I would give it a 5.
I'm gonna give it the same score, for a reason, but I want to hear your reason first.
I really can't think of anything wrong with it. Like, the story is good. It's super engaging. Some of the art is amazing. And I mean, I don't have any problem with it whatsoever.
Okay, same with me. It's also just a perfect way to start these stories. I like the time jump. I think it really is helpful.
Yeah.
If they had started right when the show ended, I don't think it would have really worked as well. They had to shake something up. But more importantly, like everything that where we are now with Darkwing Duck as just a franchise, I feel started with these comics. This was the beginning of Darkwing's second life.
Yeah.
Because we had nothing before these came out. And then we had
Mm-hmm.
these, and then we started getting pins, then we got the Joe books, and then we got the Funkos. Everything snowballed from Boom.
I think the comic is so good that I don't think that there's ever, I know that, like, they've been talking about like rebooting the show. I don't think it's ever going to be as like purely close to the original show as this comic book ever.
No, it's not going to be. I don't even think whatever we get coming up will be as close to Darkwing even as the Ducktales version was. Yeah. Which is something people are really going to have to prepare themselves for. When we find out what this reboot's going to be, a lot of people are going to be upset.
Yeah, definitely.
You know it. They either want more of DuckTales or they want exactly what the 1991 show was going to be. We're not getting either of those.
I don't think I have as big of a problem as most people do with like stuff that I love being rebooted. I know like a lot of people really, really, really get angry and hate it if anything is changed, and I don't really care that much as long as it's good.
my problem is going to be is if it's just bad.
Yeah.
Like this Rescue Rangers movie, I have heard really terrible things about it.
Oh no.
Yeah, from people who know, just it is not going to be good. And if this turns out to be something made by people who don't respect the original source, that's going to be a problem. Yeah. But it's and we've been spoiled by this comic, by the DuckTales. We have been spoiled by people who love Darkwing Duck that much. Mm-hmm. We got lucky twice.
Yeah, that's a little scary.
I mean, anything else is going to be some sort of step down. But you have to temper your expectations if you go into it thinking we're getting Jim back and Terrence McGovern might come back and we might get the Muddlefoots and maybe Morgana will come back and maybe it'll be 2D animation again. It's like you're not getting all of that.
Yeah.
But that's what or maybe the nephews from the 2017 show will make a cameo on maybe Jim Stark. It's like no. And I feel like it's going to upset lots of people, but I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But getting back to the comic, I think this issue 1A, just this cover, is on my short list of some of the most iconic Darkwing Duck merchandise. Because this one issue started everything else that we have now.
Yeah.
Like, that's at least my opinion of it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so on our next episode, we'll see where we go from here. Does Darkwing save the day? What is Quackworks? What is the Fearsome Four's master plan? Do Darkwing and Launchpad get back together? Do they reconcile? Do they not? I don't know. I don't remember. It's been years since I've read this. Maybe they don't. Maybe it ends here. Who knows? Maybe Tuscanini shows up and he takes over the world. Who knows? So I'm just saying this to make you laugh, and you know it. But anyway, Tiffany, we're going to keep these episodes short, guys, because we don't need to go almost an hour talking about individual issues. So I guess we'll wrap up. We are the St. Canard Files, a Darkwing Duck podcast. You can find us on all podcast apps, Stitcher, Spotify, Google, iTunes, Facebook. That was new this year. YouTube. Again, go watch that virtual panel and hear all about. Willis actually said that all the feedback he gets in that virtual panel, the most feedback he gets is about Sparrow and Silvani. So that's pretty awesome. Please go back and watch that. If you've watched it already, watch it again. We can use the hits. Also, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Pandora, iHeartRadio, everything. Tiffany, is there a way people can find you if they want to seek you out or your art?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Tiffany Silver Braun, and also at Regurgitating Gertie. And I'm on YouTube as well at Radioactivity.
This girl does some amazing artwork. You should definitely check it out. With lots of different topics and genres and IPs and stuff. I've seen you do Godzilla art. Obviously, you've done Darkwing Duck. You love Morgana, horror stuff. Your stuff is great.
Yeah, I mean, about a lot of things.
I mean, just with Darkwing Duck, you'll take iconic imagery like Darkwing and Negaduck arm in arm from My Valentine Ghoul, and you'll put your own spin on it. So your art is really cool. Everyone, check her out, please. Her stuff is awesome. And of course, I'm just on Facebook. You can, seek me out there, or our communities on Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, and Twitter. I want to thank Stan for running a lot of that these days. Until next week, everybody have a good one. Happy New Year, and stay dangerous.
Bye.
Take care.